Spoiler warning for Hollow Knight Silksong. Hello, this is Holly Greeno, and welcome back to my game vlog. This is the second video in my series where I record my initial thoughts on a game I've not played before. I immediately knew what game I would be reviewing for this vlog because the timing lined up perfectly for the release of the new Hollow Knight game, Hollow Knight Silksong. I might be a little biased about Silksong because I loved playing Hollow Knight, and I expect Silksong to have a similar feel to the first game. Okay, so a little overview about Hollow Knight Silksong. The producer is Team Cherry, and its ESRB rating is E10+, with fantasy violence and mild blood listed as a reason for this rating. I played on PC via Steam with an Xbox controller. The gameplay style is a 2D platformer that falls into the subgenre of Metroidvania games. This type of game blends non-linear exploration with progression that involves locked areas you can access with key items. In Hollow Knight and in Silksong, you explore areas while also fighting enemies and bosses along the way. Immediately, I'm excited by the world building the game achieves. In the first Hollow Knight game, you have multiple encounters with the main character of this game. In Silksong, you play as Hornet and learn more about her. The story so far feels pretty similar in content, and after 20 minutes of gameplay, I feel like not too many new story elements have been introduced. There was an initial scene that gave some setup, but it asks more questions about the characters than it answers. Because of this, I'm sure you have to get quite a bit further into the game to piece together what's really happening in the introduction. Hollow Knight likes to do this with its story, making the player have more questions than answers in the beginning, and only piecing together the story over time. That leads me into my next topic, which is how well this game keeps the player engaged. Because of the exploration element and the format of Metroidvania games, this game is set up to keep you moving forward. Metroidvania games have locked areas of the map that you can only access after key items or story moments. This achieves a sense of excitement and anticipation throughout the gameplay, even when you're further into the story. Even when there's a beginning area that you have to revisit, they create sections within those levels that can only be accessed later in that game. This keeps those areas fresh, and you're able to revisit them with a renewed sense of suspense. The other point I wanted to touch on was my initial impression of the audio. I'm not usually someone who analyzes or even remembers a game's sound effects, but Hollow Knight and so far Silksong have some of the most memorable character sounds. They are minimal in a sense because every sprite has one line of noise depending on the area of the map. I love how they aren't speaking any discernible language, but the characters still have unique voices. When I read the text box, the soundscape almost makes it feel like I understand the character's language. Hornet, the main character, has a regal quality to her voice that reminds me of cursive writing. Another really interesting way this game uses sound is by leading the player to hidden areas or giving clues to locations based on audio direction. An example of this is in the first game. There are trapped grubs that you must collect, and they're hidden from the map. Other than just exploring until you stumble upon them, the way you could seek them out was by listening to the distinct noise they create, which is projected through a pretty large radius. I think this is a really awesome use of sound, and I can't remember playing another game where I had to investigate via audio like that. Overall, I'm so excited to play Silksong, and I'm so glad Team Cherry didn't rush the timeline of this game. I'm sure all the work they put into this beautiful and action-packed game will be very apparent. So far, it really is. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my review of Hollow Knight Silksong. These were just my initial thoughts, but I'm excited to keep playing and see how the game develops. If you like this video, stick around for my next one. I'll be diving into another new game soon.